on this. But it is now 6:30, so let's get the meeting started. We got lots to go do. So with that, let's have a roll call, and we have the council member Villalobos.
Here.
Council member Allen.
Here.
Council member Bunker.
Here.
And we have Mayor DeVinny is also present. With that, let's rise and say the pledge. And I don't know if Jared can get the flag up or not, but I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under Amen. I have no idea what was. We apologize to all Americans for that. Not well done today. All right. So the first thing that's up on our agenda is the public comments. Public comments. So we have nobody, none that have walked in the door today. We do have two that we were unable to go off and handle in the past that were sent in via email. And as we do these Zoom meetings, what we say is that if you are interested in making a public comment, you can send them in by noon on the day of the meeting, prior to noon on the day of the meeting, and we will read them at the meeting. Both of these comments came in. One came in June, one came in July, but because we haven't had a meeting since then, when we considered this, we've been holding on to them, so I'm going to read them. The first one comes from John Lasser, and he says, "Dear Mayor and City Council, I have continued concerns about the speeding traffic in front of the park on FM 1979. Every day I observe vehicles exceeding the speed limit of 35 miles per hour. I would like to see the city take concrete actions to address this safety issue. Sincerely, John Lasser." So we will look at that one here in the future. The second one is from Miss Wendy Bagwell, and also almost an identical one from Susan Shawn. So instead of reading both of them, we're going to go read one of them. So those who are in the audience who are talking, Jared, can you do something about that, or do I got to do that here?
I'll need it on my end. I'll need the background noise.
You are muted.
You can mute or unmute yourself by pressing *6.
I think I got just about all of them.
Okay. All right. As I was saying, the second comment, it was sent in by Miss Bagwell and Miss Shawn. They were all virtually identical, so I'm only going to read one of them. It says, "When you post an agenda that includes both the resignation of a council member and appointment of her replacement, it leads to suspicion that meetings and decisions are happening outside of the public view. Open up the vacancy appointment process to everyone."
Rob, if you're speaking,
Say again. Are we not coming through?
I don't hear him. No.
Take yourself on the mute.
What's that?
I'm on his phone.
You are unmuted.
Here we go. Let's try this now.
Testing, 1, 2, 3.
Here we go. We're online. Sorry about that, Rob.
All right, no problem. I'm going to start over. This one came in earlier in July, just before the planned meeting on July 7th. It has to do with the appointment process that we were trying to go through. I'm going to read it. It comes from Miss Bagwell and Miss Shawn. There was two of them that virtually had the identical wording, and so we're only going to read one. "When you post an agenda that includes both the resignation of a council member and an appointment of her replacement, it leads to suspicion that meetings and decisions are happening outside of public view. Open up the vacancy appointment process to everyone. It may still appear that the outcome is predetermined, especially if you appoint a current candidate or office holder." So that's the only two public comments we have, and we have now shared them with the council. Moving on, we're going to go to the mayor's report. So Jared, if you could bring that up. Thank you. Hopefully Lisa and the troops can see that out there in Zoom land. First thing I want to talk about is our COVID-19 activities. Of course, we've all known over the last, since May, the number of active cases, or number of cases has skyrocketed, especially in Hays County. Due to the increased number of confirmed cases, and the city of San Marcos has closed their parks and river access, and the governor closed commercial tubing operations as well. When this occurred in May, our parks were overrun. Had a large number of people seeking river access that became an unsafe condition for kids and the like. Therefore, we closed our parks, and they remain closed until these other two situations go back to normal operations. A lot of you have seen that the closures have also affected roadside parking on the easements, and we put up some no parking signs specifically down around Skull Bridge, that river access point, and we are continuing to go off and monitor that and try to make sure that we don't have an unsafe condition down there. The City Hall offices are once again open. We opened those up back in June. The municipal court, as of the end of the month, was still not open. We're waiting on to get our planned operations, our operations plan approved by the regional judge. When that happens, we will again allow people to come into the court area and pay their tickets or whatever. And as of 7/29, there were 37 documented cases of COVID-19 within zip code 78655, as reported by the county emergency management folks. So we've gone in 2 months from nothing to 37 around here. This is a real thing we need to all be concerned with, and continue to use social distancing and masks to try to fight this thing. The next thing I want to speak to is the census. We are with self-reporting as of the end of July, we were at 48.5%. That is still behind the county, behind the state, and behind the nation's average. Our last census self-reporting number was 59%, I think, 59 point something percent. So we are well below that. This is an important thing to go off and make sure everybody gets counted. It helps us with grants. It helps us with federal and state reimbursements for emergency issues, etc. If we don't all get counted, it's going to be a problem for us for 10 more years. So I urge everybody to continue to do that. It's easy to phone it in. You can do it over the phone, so you don't have to go anywhere. On July 22nd, some reminder postcards were mailed out to residents who had not responded yet, or are not on the books as filling out the census. So some of you may have gotten that. If you did, please respond. And then enumerators, or the census takers, are going to start going house to house in mid-August to all the residences that have not responded yet. So you might get a knock on your door asking you to go off and respond. And in this day and age of COVID, it would be much better if we responded self-responded through the phone or online or whatever, so you don't have to deal with those folks. Some other activities that have been going on here at City Hall: the American Legal has updated a number of the city ordinances online. There's a new web link that you can get to through the city web page. If you follow that link, it gets you to the right spot. I think we updated about 6 of them. There's still a couple more to go. It took quite a while, but they are updated. One of the things that we've worked on in the past, there's a development activity that is close to Martindale, but is actually inside the city of San Marcos. Apparently that development is making some progress now. It's called, the Mayan Development is what I'm talking about, what we refer to as the Mayan Development. For the council members, you'll remember that we have an agreement with those folks that may be affected by these new changes. They have not approached us as of yet, but be on the lookout for that. That may be coming in the coming months. We got a new business coming to downtown at 404 Main Street. It's right across from the current, where I'm sitting right today. It's going to be called Good Things Grocery. It's supposed to be open. They're shooting for September 1st opening. And basically it's a local organic produce and meat market kind of thing with drinks and other things available. So be on the lookout for that coming. And of course, if anybody's been downtown recently, they've seen that there's been some work now on the old building, dilapidated building at 416 Main Street. That process has begun. We're all happy with that. But it's going to still take quite a while before they get that finished. And I guess that's all I have for the mayor's report. There is one other thing that has come up recently I guess I probably need to speak to. There's an awful lot of signs going on around town that say no zoning change, save our parks. I don't know where those are coming from, but as far as I know, there's been nobody approached the Planning and Zoning Committee or the city with a request to change the zoning anywhere. Now, that may not be true, Lisa. You may have some more input on that when we get to the Planning and Zoning report. But the folks who seems to be nervous about this, as far as the city is concerned, nobody's actually trying to do this. So please be aware of that there's no active participation right now in trying to go off and make that happen. Now the other thing that we were going to do today at the mayor's report was the order of the election. Have you got that? As people remember, we of course had a couple of resignations. We're down to 3 council members. Once you get below 1 vacancy, you have to have a special election. It needs to be ordered as opposed to voted on, and so we have generated an order to go do that. And so I'm going to need to read that right now, and then we will go sign it here in a little bit. So, whereas on or about July 2nd, 2020, the resignation of Councilmember Mary Alice Paul became effective pursuant to Local Government Code 22.012, and whereas on or about July 16th, 2020, the resignations of Councilmember Mike McClab became effective pursuant to Local Government Code 22.012, and whereas the effectiveness of Councilmember Mike McClab's resignation resulted in there being 2 vacancies on the Martindale City Council, and whereas pursuant to Texas Constitution Section 11, Article 11, and Local Government Code 22.010, the City of Martindale is required to hold an election on the soonest possible uniform election date to fill the vacancy at Martindale City Council, Place 5. Now that's Mary Paul's place. The reason we're not doing that Mike's place is not part of this special election is it was already on the election to be held on November 3rd. And we can't have 2 places, the same place on there twice. Now, therefore, be it ordered that the City of Martindale, Texas, will hold a special election on November 3rd, 2020, for the purpose of electing a City Council member for Place 5 to serve the remainder of Councilmember Mary Alice Paul's term. Be it further ordered that the election day polling places for this election are designated pursuant to Section 271.003 of the Texas Election Code and will be identified by the Caldwell County Elections Administrator. Be it further ordered that the presiding election judge and the alternate presiding election judge will be appointed by Pamela Ohlendorf, Elections Administrator of Caldwell County, in a timely manner and in accordance with the Election Code. Be it further ordered that Pamela Ohlendorf, Elections Administrator, is designated as the early voting clerk for the election. Early voting by personal appearance will commence on October 19th, 2020, and will continue until October 30th, 2020. on at least 2 weekdays during the early voting period. The location for early voting will be open for at least 12 hours as mandated by state law. And locations for early voting by personal appearance will be the Scott Annex Building in Lockhart and the Luling Civic Center in Luling.
And may I say something on that October 19th? That was told to me that was extended. I will change that. That will be now October 13th.
Okay, we'll have a modification and we're going to move that up 6 days to October 13th is the beginning of the early voting period. It still goes to October 30th.
I got an email on that.
Be it further ordered that the Caldwell County Elections Administrator will be responsible for the early voting applications and ballots. Applications for early voting by mail may be delivered to Caldwell County Elections Administrator 1403-C Blackjack Street in Lockhart, and not earlier than January 1st, 2020, and not later than the close of business on October 23rd. Early voting ballots will be mailed to the Elections Administrator at the same address. It will be further ordered all qualified voters of the city will be permitted to vote at this election, and on the day of the election, each qualified voter will vote at the polling places designated for the election precinct in which he or she resides. So those election locations have yet to be set, but they will be set here shortly and will be announced in the paper and on our bulletin board. Be it further ordered, direct recording electronic DRE voting devices will be used for voting at the election, and election counting devices and equipment will be used for counting ballots cast at the election. Be it further ordered, a proper notice of this election, including a Spanish translation thereof, will be posted not later than the 21st day before the election on the bulletin board used for posting notices of meetings of the city council, and will also be published at least once, not earlier than 30th day, not later than the 10th day before the election in the newspaper of general circulation in the city. Be it further ordered, all expenditures necessary for the conduct of this election, the purchase of materials thereof, and the employment of all election officials are hereby authorized and will be conducted in accordance with the election code. And be it further ordered, if any provision of the order or the application thereof to any person or circumstance is held to be invalid by a court of competent jurisdiction, the remainder of this order and the application of such provisions to other persons and circumstances will nevertheless be valid. So with that, we're going to order the special election for place 5, and those folks who are interested in doing that are now available to come pick up a election application ballot to be the application to be placed on the ballot for that special election, and those are available today. Is that right? Yes. So they are now available, and I will sign this before the day's out. Or there's a change? Did you say, Sylvia?
I'm going to change the date.
Before the day's out, we will have that signed. So some of the open comments that we had earlier, et cetera, all revolved around the process to go do this. All I want to say is that we are trying our best to follow the state laws on how you do this. We are relying on our attorney's opinion, TML's opinion, and the Secretary of State's election folks' opinion on exactly how we're supposed to be doing this. And hopefully people can now look back and say, oh yeah, we were trying to hurry so we didn't have to have a special election, but we ended up having one anyway. So
Mayor,
with that, I think
can-
we have wrapped up the mayor's report. Yes,
can I
ma'am.
ask you a question? How much is the special election going to cost?
It'll cost a little extra, but not much because we already had the other election on there.
But it'll be a little bit more.
Yes. Now, the thing about it is most of those costs occur in November, though we pay them in October and November, which means they're coming out of next year's budget. So our budget for this year actually had one election in it that we're not going to have. We spent a little getting ready for it to start with, and there's still a little more, but next year's is going to be, we're going to end up having 2 because of this. So
But
that's
there's
just
there's not like a ballpark range on cost that the city's going to have to incur because it is a special election.
not
No
right now.
numbers.
Don't have it right now. We don't have a choice. We got to.
Is there a deadline to submit the applications? What's the
Yes, you got to have them in by the 17th of August, I believe.
August 17th.
Is that correct? When you, let's say it this way, when you pick up the
I have
packet,
to look at my
Send it in.
calendar.
well, when you pick up the packet, ask that question.
Okay.
And,
I could tell you if it was named, but this is something.
Okay.
yeah, the calendar is in there and it has a thing, but if you ask the question, Sylvia will go right to the page and say, right there's the deadline.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right, with that, we're moving on to the city administrator's report. Jared, you're on. Do you have,
Right. All right, first up, I want to give you an update on city staffing. As you know, we have 2 utility clerks that are employed part-time that manage the utility billing and other administrative tasks. Those were Gloria Cox and Carmen Zuniga. And Gloria, she resigned on June 2nd. Carmen retired on July 30th. And we knew that Carmen was planning to retire earlier this year. She gave us fair warning. And so we began the search process back in April, May. And we brought on 2 new hires to replace Gloria and Carmen. Those are Jessica Macias and Adrian Flores. They got hired on under an assistant city clerk for utilities position description that includes some additional responsibilities beyond that which was previously asked of the utility clerks. And so some of those include helping the city clerk with minutes, records management, updating the website, and other items. So I'm very excited to bring them on. I think this is a opportunity for us to really improve in those areas. So Jessica Macias, she is a Martindale resident with prior utility clerk experience with the city of Austin. She has a bachelor's in criminal justice, and she began on July 7th. Adrian Flores, he's a 4th-year student at Texas State, getting his degree in political science and public administration, and he began a couple weeks ago on July 20th. So I'd like to welcome them to the staff, and I'm sure if you haven't met them already, you'll find that they're very pleasant people and very responsible.
Get in the camera so they can see you. Come here.
hang on, we're gonna make Adrian get embarrassed here.
Hi, Adrian. He's right here.
He is. Come over here next to me, Adrian. There he is. Now you can see him wave.
Thank you.
We can't see your face, they have a mask on.
Looking forward to Adrian.
All right. Thank you for coming tonight, Adrian.
Thank you, Adrian.
Moving along, I want to give a timeline of where we are with the budget. So today, as of today, we've received the certified property tax rolls and completed the forecasting of the tax rates, and we're also going to review the future year spend plan. The next items we have to complete are discussing and proposing a tax rate in an upcoming workshop, publishing a notice in the paper that we're going to adjust that tax rate, and then we're on track to approve the budget and tax rate on the September 8th City Council meeting. And some of these dates are TBD, not TBD, they're dependent upon a later agenda item to establish a new regular City Council meeting schedule. So the next slide has that calendar look at. So for the next 3 meetings, we're going to try to pass the budget and the tax rate. Any questions on the time?
Let me interject here some of the issues we've got with this. Of course, later on in the agenda, we're going to have a resolution to go reset our regular meetings to twice or to multiple times a month to try to go so we can hold these workshops / meetings where we can discuss details of the budget like we have in the past. One of the things that we are not able to do due to the fact we have 2 vacancies is we cannot have a meeting with unless, a meeting to impose taxes without having at least 75% of the council present. Now, 75%, three council members don't get you to 75, they get you to 60%. You got to have number 4. The fourth can be a holdover. That's the term that's in the state laws, is that if you fail to fill a vacancy on the council, resigned members or people who've stopped coming or whatever can be compelled to try to come to the meeting, and if they do, and they can be counted as a holdover, and in which case we can hold a meeting to set the tax rate. That's why we picked September 8th to go off and make that happen. We're going to have Mike or Mary show up at that meeting if we're going to go set a new tax rate. If they don't show up, or we can't come to resolution on that day, don't get taxes set before the end of the budget year, then the state takes over and sets the taxes for us through state law. And it's set at one of two numbers, either the prior year's tax rate or what they call the no new revenue rate, which we've received from Caldwell County CAD already, which actually does not allow any new revenue to come from properties that have previously been assessed. So you get to count new properties, of which we got a little less than $1 million worth of stuff on the books for new properties, but the vast bulk of our appraised value will have to be done at the no new tax rate if we can't come to a resolution on September 8th. And that requires that at least one of the two resigned members come to the meeting, and we will ask them to please do that and come in. But when we get to the meeting on the 18th, where we're talking about the details of the budget, we better have, the council I'm talking to now, the 4 of us, and Jared need to come up with at least 2 plans. This is what we think we ought to go do, but this is the fallback position if we can't get people to participate. And so just be aware of that. That is why we want to go move the September 1st meeting to the 8th. It allows us to get everything in the newspaper like it's supposed to be. And the second meeting of September would be on the normal 3rd Tuesday, which would be the 15th, the following week. But that is our only 2 shots to do what we think we need to go off and go do. Thank you. That's all I got on that.
Yeah, I was going to quickly touch on that. So going on to the next slide, these are, I shared a preliminary draft of the budget to help inform the discussions on our meeting on the 18th. And I want to quickly highlight some of those areas that I think require probably some clarifications as you look at it on yourself. We won't discuss the tax rate today, what those particulars are going to be, except to say that we're currently using a planning property tax rate that you see reflected on this chart of $342,000 as a revenue source. As the mayor described, one of those rates that the table set for us is the no new revenue rate, which would bring us down to 334 as a revenue budget. Next, I want to focus attention on the municipal court. And you'll see on that gray column, that gray bar is our FY20 projected. You'll see our projections are currently quite short of where our FY20 budget. And that's largely due to the initial operational response to the COVID-19 epidemic and how we were performing traffic control stops and the like. those numbers to rebound some, but given that we're only 2 months away from the end of the fiscal year, it's unlikely that there's going to be a significant recovery in that discrepancy between the budget and the projected number. And looking ahead to FY21, we expect there to be some drop-off in municipal court revenues reflective of the ongoing societal impacts of COVID-19 in terms of reduced traffic and operational considerations of performing traffic stops. The sales tax number, you see there, the budget's currently assuming to meet our projected. That number may change in the future as we get to the discussion on 18. That's a point estimate. We may want to risk adjust that number down to somewhat, so we don't leave ourselves in the potential of falling short of our budgeted revenue, and then setting ourselves up for funding deficit. On the utility fund side, you'll see an increase in both the wastewater and especially the solid waste revenue. Those revenues increases are reflective of the increased number of customers, usage, and rates. So all three of those factors are contributing to a higher revenue rate that you're seeing. That's the revenue outlook. On the expense side, you'll see a slight decrease in the FY20 to FY21 budget in payroll, combined with general fund and utility fund. That is in response to a change in the pension expenses. We have one less beneficiary on staff with the departure of a full-time officer, and the contribution rate is expected to be reduced. We've been actually doing pretty good on buying down our obligations, our pension obligations. So we can adjust our savings rate to be a lower contribution rate. The operations, you'll see a decrease in our projected against our FY20 budget. And that's due to the delayed election, which the mayor referenced earlier. There's about $10,000 that shifted from FY20 to FY21. And then there was also a reduction. We're a little bit behind on our parks spending, our burn rate there. And with the increase in utility revenues, our calculations for reimbursing our operational costs is based on 15% of that revenue. And so as the revenues increase, so do our general fund payments, everything. So that's why you're seeing that number decrease in our section. Across everything else, we're pretty flat. We'll talk about the audit fees later this as an agenda item today. Our street and road repair is budgeted right now at the same rate as it was this last year. Then the other expense columns is where we'll have some adjustment that will help us as we get to the workshop. On the utility expenses, you'll see that in FY20 our projected wastewater treatment plant and repair costs have increased in FY20 due to some emergency responses that we need to make at the equipment lift station back in, I think it was March and April and May. That's driving that cost. But we expect that budget to be only a slight increase over last year. And then the solid waste costs, you'll see those increase as a reflex customer as a balance, we're looking at a net budget balance of a positive $29,000. Now, as we discussed with the tax rate, if we're unable to set a tax rate that's in the budget, we're going to have to reduce that back down to the no new revenue rate. That's obviously going to decrease our net budget position. And then the other issue that is hidden in here is our hotel tax expenditures. We do not currently have a hotel tax expenditure. And the revenue includes a $12,000 budget hotel tax revenue. So we'll need to correct that unbalance. And one of the ways we're looking to do that is come up with a special revenue fund, specifically for designated or restricted funds. So that includes hotel, court, the court restricted funds, the law enforcement training restricted funds, and also the street and road sales tax increase. So that'll help us keep a better accounting of those restricted use funds separate from our general fund, and may impact the net budget items when we do that. That'll help us keep that. So that'll be more clear when we get to the discussion on 18. And then last, we'll take input from the future year spend plan and make changes accordingly to work. So normally it looks like there's $29,000 that we can allocate within our budget to priority items.
Uh-oh.
You just want me to turn on, why can't we hear it on the
It
computer?
doesn't come through and it has feedback.
He's gonna wait.
Hold on. Did you do the joint audio?
You have not entered any numbers. Please re-enter your meeting ID.
Here we go.
You entered goodbye. Welcome to Zoom. Enter your meeting ID followed by pound. Enter your participant ID followed by pound. Please enter the meeting password followed by pound.
What's the meeting password?
It's, 8.
You have not entered any numbers. Please re-enter the...
Oh, you have one.
834707.
You entered 88. This meeting password is invalid. Please re-enter the meeting password.
834707.
You are in the meeting now. There are more than 20 participants in the meeting. This meeting is being recorded.
Okay, we are back. The audio failed on us a while back, so Jared, you've muted us.
Are you good now?
Oh, we're good now, I guess. Can you hear me now? All right, we're back. Now, where we lost you was right at the end of your draft budget outlook. So.
So on slide 7, the takeaway here is that the net budget shows a surplus of $29,000. However, the property tax setting and how that will play out with the requirement for a 3/4 participation of the city council, that will impact that number. Also, too, will accounting for a special revenue fund or restricted fund. So while there's $29,000 available in surplus to be put towards priority items, that number is expected to change and become lower by the time we have our workshop. Going back to the request for proposals, the grant administration contract is going to be discussed later in the agenda. The land survey services contract, we received 4 offers. We evaluated the best October 1st.
There is your audio.
My audio's in and out.
Yeah.
Come on now.
Better.
Try to speak lower to the microphone. So the wastewater system RFP contract was closed on August 3rd, yesterday. Current contract expires October 1st. We received only one offer, which is the incumbent service provider that we currently have. An additional offer has requested an extension to that RFP. However, that was not granted as of yet, as the city council meetings have not been established, regular council. My concern was, if we do not have a number of city council meetings available to review the contract, then we may run out of time prior to the end of the year. So I didn't want to give us just one shot in September to review the contract for city council action. Drawing on last year's experience, understanding that there might be some additional questions or issues that come out of that, wanted to make sure we had multiple opportunities to discuss and approve that contract. So if we have the ability to schedule multiple meetings in September, then we may be able to look at making that extension. When we have that discussion about the meetings, we can discuss those impacts at that time. The contract is set up to be awarded on the best value basis.
Your lady is good here.
Say that again?
You're fading in and out, so good. Mostly your video this time.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Continue on if I can, and then if I need to, I'll call in on my phone.
Sounds good.
I'll stop the video when I do this.
Hey Jan, I'm having issues on my end as well. Just hearing him coming in and out. It may be us here in Martindale with the issue, not him.
Yeah, I haven't had any problems with Jared.
Yeah, I think it's us here in Martindale.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Go ahead.
The last request for proposals is the engineering services contract. This is to provide support for public work projects, including the design and oversight of street, stormwater drainage, wastewater system, and other infrastructure and public space improvements. This would be an as-needed task order-based contract with one base year for options. The initial task that would be required is to support the hazard mitigation grant projects, providing the engineering support for those hazard mitigations, which there were three of them, and then we'll discuss those, I'm sure, at a future council meeting. We've discussed them previously. The thing here is we've received 13 offers, which is a pretty substantial response. We're in the process of going through those. If city council members want to participate, please let me know. You'll need to come to the city offices and participate in the review at that place. And I would expect a significant time commitment to do so, to go through the 13 proposals.
For instance, today I spent a little over 2 hours and got 3 of them done. We've got 10 more to go. And right now the only plan is for me and Jared to go do that, and I just as soon have some more help here to review these and score them. So if any of your council members can devote a day to come down here and read, or a few hours a day, several days in a row, it would help. Anybody interested?
I'll help.
I'm interested.
And I could come in on Friday.
And then tell me the deadline again.
We want to be able to go through the selection process, be ready to vote on it on the 18th, the meeting of the August 18th. So to be able to do that, we need to have the answer by the Monday before that, the Monday, the week before that. So 17th, by the 10th. We need to review all these by the 10th.
Right.
So we got just a few
And that
days.
has to be done in-house.
What's that?
That has to be done at City Hall.
Actually, we asked for 4 copies, and everybody delivered 4 copies. So no, it does. For 1 or 2 of you, we could give you a copy, and you could walk out the door with it and bring it back.
Hey, so Mayor, this is just an idea about, why can't we just receive them via email and then we look at them? And then we could send our score in by email, or we can't?
There's,
Too much.
I think there's too much. We did get electronic copies of those, but I have not looked at those. And with the pictures and everything in them, I probably Zimmer's not going to let us email the damn thing. It's going to be too big. So,
The concern was the file size.
And
But-
so I'll just request, Sylvia or anyone else in the office, if you'll just put it in my mailbox tomorrow, I will swing by and pick it up so that I can begin to review.
okay, we could do that. But that's good. We'll go put all 3 of you on there. Perfect. Moving on.
Alright. And last item, I want to briefly provide an update to the annual goals, my annual goals for the city administrator. And they included improving the efficiency and effectiveness of city operations. Made substantial progress. Work's being had. You'll see that I've included a basic stoplight chart here. One of the areas that need to continue to focus on over the last 2 months of the fiscal year is establishing those standard operating procedures for city business. The other items have made significantly more progress on and plan to have well in place by the end of this year. The goal 2 was to implement a strategic vision for the city and planning process for the city. As we know, we've made significant progress here. We will be discussing more of those items later this evening under the same item. One item we have not had a chance to get to yet was capital improvement funding options. But my hope is that we'll be able to do that in the near future. The third goal was to promote opportunity in the community within the city. And we've made some progress here. We were able to have a city sponsor festival event as much as we could during COVID. We were able to do first aid civic day event. We've also worked with local civic organizations to promote resident services. That includes the library, the new library contract. Other areas for focus over the last part of the year is developing recommendations to try to streamline the development operations within the city. So how can we improve the permit and processing process? So that's one of the things we're looking at to continue to focus on over the last 2 months. So I want to give you a quick snapshot on where we're at with meeting those annual goals. And that's all that I have. Unless there's any questions from council members, I'll turn it over back to the mayor.
All right, any questions? The homework for the council, I guess we're going to get to here about toward the end, but on the back pages of his city report are the details with the proposed budget. So we're giving you a couple of weeks to stare at this, and when your eyes cross and you say, what is this? But this is where you need to take your red magic markers and go through and circle the things that you either don't understand and or want to change, and bring that to the meeting on the 18th. All right, moving on here. we are now to financial reports. And Dwayne unfortunately has got some stuff going on at home. Did we get these things out, Sylvia, to him? Email? I haven't looked at these yet, other than what I normally do, so I'm more familiar with through the end of June numbers. I just assumed, Dwayne was working hard yesterday and today to try to get caught up, but of course with only 2 work days between the end of the month and now, he was struggling to go off and make this happen, and then he had some issues at home. So if we can, we could put this off unless somebody's got a question they want to ask specifically, which would be either Jan or Lisa. Wade, do something if you want to ask a question. Sonia, you got a question?
Well, what I was going to say is Dwayne coming back, or is he on for the TV?
Yeah, he's out of pocket for the day. It's a medical issue.
Oh, I see. So we got, okay.
I'm okay with that.
Okay.
For the reserve for the patrol car, is that always gonna stay apart until we get a patrol car, or
Till we
the
use it.
12,000
Yeah.
until we do use it?
Yeah.
And are we still planning on getting one?
Yes, I'll speak to that. Harry, where'd Harry go? You here?
I'm right here.
Okay. Tell me if I say something wrong. We put the $12,000 in the long-term capital improvement fund, dedicated that a while back because we went in for a grant last year, but we were not awarded that grant, so that money stayed there. We have re-upped and gone. These are annual grants through LCRA/Blue Bonnet, and we've submitted again this year. Built into the budget, if you go look at one of the detailed line items, there's a line item number. What is it here? Vehicle lease, 8134. It's got $8,000 in there. So what we've got in this year's budgeted plan, or for 2021's budgeted plan, is that we will rock on until October or November and find out whether we received the grant for the police car. If we don't receive the grant, we're going to merge that $8,000 and that $12,000 and propose a lease for a new vehicle. It will commit us to some, I think it's a 5-year lease that we talked about. But there's a plan A and a plan B it built into the budget for this, but we've got to go try to get another patrol vehicle ready to go around here. As part of Jared's 2025 strategy plan, one of the key elements that he did get out of the community was that police enforcement was important, was something we go do. And so the things that we've been putting in place was to go expand that. May not get a 3rd officer until 2022, but or the end of 2021. But we need to get it in a place where we can handle that, and to handle that, we need 2 police cars that are highway ready, and so that's what that's all about. So is that 12 is there still, and we're also planning on trying to go get a plan B to even execute if we don't have that grant come through.
Okay. And then the police restricted, there's a 3,136. Would that include their training?
That's exactly what that's for.
So, and then how many officers do we have right now?
We have 2 equivalent officers with 4 names in place to cover it all. We have Harry full-time, and then we have 3 other officers that are all part-time.
Working full-time.
That when you add up all their hours, it comes out to 40.
Harry, what are all their names?
You have Dwight Dugans, Chris Germer, and Gregory Pope.
Chris and Gregory Pope.
Yes.
And even though they're part-time, they would still get training?
Oh,
They would
absolutely.
still come out of that?
We're all required to have a minimum hours of training every 2 years. There's a training cycle. We're all required to have at least 40 hours of training. Mine, I'm required to go to a conference. The guys are required to have 2 or 3 mandated courses through the state, and then the rest of it is training hours that would benefit the city, as in a particular aspect of training.
Gotcha.
Any other questions? All right, with that, financials, we're on to the judge. Judge, you're here. You was here.
I'm here. Hello?
Yeah, walk us through.
Can everybody hear me? Okay. Yeah, I know I'm here. Okay. Good evening, everyone. You'll see the court report in front of you. I will be happy to take any questions if anyone has any.
Lisa, you got any questions for him?
If there's not any questions, then I would go on and just while I've got the opportunity here, I would go on and talk about our COVID plan.
Okay, just hang on a second. Jan, have you got any questions for him? Going once, going twice. Sonia, you got questions?
No.
Okay, carry on, Judge.
Okay, yeah, just briefly. I was in touch with Judge Stubblefield's office, and I'm going to follow up tomorrow and try and get some more information. During the process of trying to get our plan finalized, apparently they have had a change in position, and I don't know if it's because of the recent spike, but I'm going to get to the bottom of it. I had gotten an email that sounded kind of that I wasn't expecting, and briefly, it was to the effect that even despite approval of a COVID plan, that we were not going to be able to do anything in person. Okay, that everything was going to have to be conducted via Zoom. I thought that was kind of odd because that was the whole purpose of the COVID plan, is to be able to do on a limited basis, subject to those conditions, non-essential hearings. I spoke with a couple of judges, county court judges that are friends of mine. They had gotten the same email the same day, one of them, and they've already been doing in-person hearings, and so everybody was a little set back. I just wanted to let you know that I'm going to get to the bottom of it, and if it winds up that we're having to do everything via Zoom, then I'm working on getting that set up, and so we can, as you are aware, we've got a docket that's going to be coming up, and so I just wanted to kind of take a minute while we were all here just to get you up to speed and let you know what the status was.
I don't know how much the council and the public knows what this is all about, but as part of the Open Texas activities, the state put out a number of protocols for different kinds of businesses on what they needed to do to go remain safe and open back up to the public. The courts had their own set of protocols. One of those was to write up an individual court plan on what you do. We of course did that and submitted that, and then we've been waiting for a number of different things over here. But so far, the city of Martindale's municipal court has remained closed, and just we're using the Dropbox as our interface to the public. We would like to change that and get them back to being able to have people walk in and do their business when they need to. Unfortunately, as you just heard Tony talk about, it's a very fluid situation. So things change.
It is, and I've been discussing. I mean, there's another alternative, further action that we might take that would help speed things along too. Okay, is anyway, just as far as internal procedures, it's not anything groundbreaking, but it's something that we're a tool we will employ to try and keep our docket moving.
Yeah.
Okay, and like I said, and then this I'll know more after I speak with Stubblefield's office again. But I wanted to kind of reach out to a couple of judges that I'm friendly with and find out what they knew and what they were being told. And so I will definitely keep everyone abreast, but I just didn't want to take a lot of time, but I just wanted to throw that out so you at least you kind of know where we're at.
Okay, I appreciate it.
I have a question. Judge, how many, like, has there been any cases that you've heard at all?
I'm sorry?
Are there any cases that you've heard at all? Any court in anything
No, we have
going
not
on?
held,
Nothing?
we have not held court since,
Just March.
we haven't had a real court for quite a while. And when was, Ken and you, when was the last
We've been
time?
shut up since March.
Yeah. And so what's building
We're
is,
still- I'm sorry.
what's building is there's a docket of, I mean, a lot of people just come in and say, hey, I'll pay my fine, I'll pay my ticket or
Yes.
whatever. And they can do that with our normal operations. People who want to talk to the prosecutor, want to talk to the judge or whatever, those are been on hold, and that pile is getting big. It's getting bigger.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
typically I think they use, maybe twice a year, they would have a session where they would bring in all those people in one day and try to go off and handle it all in one day. We haven't been able to do that, and we probably got a good day's worth of work lined up
Yes.
per our old process. If we have to do it with Zoom, God knows what happened, because, you've seen it tonight, right? I mean, people have been dropping out, and
Yeah.
audio drops
And
out.
what we're going to do is just ramp up our efforts that can be done through other means. I mean, most of the business of the court is and I'm answering the councilperson's question, is done over the phone and via email, okay? A small percentage of people actually walk in physically into the building to take care of their cases, okay? But some do. And so it really becomes an issue is what the mayor just alluded to is our pretrial dockets, which traditionally, we would do every couple of months and bring everybody in. And so that's kind of what we're, that's what we're lacking right now, okay? So we're just, it's just something that we're dealing with. And, I mean, it's we're moving along, and we're certainly more involved than we were. And things are changing, like as far as the policing and all that. So I mean, we're getting back on top of things. This is just something everybody's having to deal with. And I mean, courts at all levels are struggling really badly right now with procedure and Zoom and what you can do and what happens when people are on Zoom and they don't show up in court. And I mean, it's a new landscape, and everybody is struggling with it at all court levels. So we'll get through it, okay? But I'll definitely keep everyone abreast of things. But I just wanted to throw that out and let you know what the latest was.
All right, thank you, Tony.
Okay? Thank y'all.
Thank you.
All right, Harry, you're up. It's blotter time.
Okay, if anybody has any questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
Let's go around the room. Let's see here. Sonia, you got any questions for him?
Yes, I wanted to know, that the tickets that are reflected here that were given on School Road, are these the only tickets that
No.
were? Okay.
No.
Okay.
No, those are the ones where it was actually put into the activity, how many cars we hit at that one time, parking violation was. But there's other ones where it's just finished road citation. So if the officer didn't put in there how many cars he ticketed for parking violations, if I'm not mistaken, I think there's been quite a few, well over 25 parking citations, I know. Definitely.
Yeah, and then, so I saw that the yellow tape that was put up there, like, that's gone now for the parking. I mean, like, maybe this isn't the time to ask, but what about the parking over there? What's going on?
As far as,
Like I thought, is there a limit of how many cars are supposed to be over there?
it's how many can fit into that parking lot, and that is it. The yellow tape for the stop sign on the north end needs to go back up because you can't park within 30 feet of the stop sign. On the south end, we roped that off because it makes people who are trying to go up the slight hill it's really tough to see around a car if it's parked at the very end. That's why we wrote that area off.
And see, so if it's private property, we as a city could still go in and rope it off? If it's private property?
You can't obstruct an intersection. I don't care whether it's private property or not, you can't obstruct the intersection, make an unsafe situation, so.
Like the mayor said, private property, there's stipulations on how many feet you can be away from a stop sign, or if you're obstructing the view of an intersection. And we would rather T-post it in and put tape up and not allow somebody to park there than have to go over there and, because of an accident, or actually have to tow a car for traffic obstruction.
I would like to say that prior to the no parking thing and the declaration that we needed to close the parks, etc., there was a terrible unsafe condition, and that has improved. It's not perfect, but it is much better with the activity that we've been doing down there currently. What hasn't improved is the trash and the left behinds, and I don't know what to do about that yet, so we'll have to think some more on that one.
Yeah, I mean, if the folks that live in the downtown area and on Northwest River Road, they've probably seen on the weekends, we very rarely, we're probably running up and down Northwest River Road the majority of the day. And it's simply because the minute you leave that area down there, somebody parks in the no parking zone, if you're not right there, by the time you get back, there's 15 cars there. So we run from the city park to phase 1 park, back to Skull. We're handling, as you can see on the blotter, we're handling a tremendous amount of call loads for trespassing at Johnson Street at the river. So right now, I mean, it's not just the weekends. We're doing it a lot during the week, but the weekends we are just getting lambasted.
So my question is, like, with it being private property, and like with the parking not being, it's kind of like a free-for-all there. It's increased job for our officers and everything. But when does the owner become responsible for, if they're going to allow people to use it? When is the owner going to be responsible for setting the parking, doing all that, and when are they going to be held accountable for the litter, the parking, and all of the excess job that's being put onto our police department?
Well, I'm not sure. I think on CAD we tried to locate who the owner of the property. Caldwell County CAD says that property has no owner. The way I understand it, is that correct, Mayor?
The way I understand it too, we would have to do a property search, probably a title search to go and figure this out. But.
Okay. I'll wait until the end of the night then. I'll put it on the agenda.
Ms. Allen?
How about Jan Bunker? You still on with us, Jan? You got any questions for the chief?
No, everything was fine.
Okay, and Lisa, you got any questions?
I do. I have a couple. Since we now have a couple of new officers, I personally, and I know that other residents have inquired about the same, what kind of patrol schedule are we running currently?
We are running a patrol schedule into the evening, and we mix hours around. Nobody, we have somebody, I'm sorry?
I'm having a hard time hearing you because you're not very far, I mean, you're too far away from whatever.
So we have officers that are tending to work every evening, weekends, from mid-morning into the evening. If you were out and about today, you saw Chris Germer. I believe Chris might still even be out right now, patrolling.
Yeah, what is evening-ish?
Evening-ish? Evening's going to be, an officer's going to be here till 8:30, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock. It depends on how busy. Our call load has increased where we've had guys, and I came in to help them out, where we were out here at 1:30 in the morning doing paperwork because somebody went to jail. So it just varies.
I appreciate that. I know that. And so that is 7 days a week?
We try to cover 7 days a week, yes ma'am.
Very good. I know that's a relief. Like I said, not only to me, but to other residents that, want to feel safe in our area. My other question is, and this is really more of a statement, I will send you an email, but there have been times when we receive the water in our agenda packet, so we receive it via email, and I'm specifically requesting the water that is the 6:1 through 6:30 to be emailed, as well as the 7:1 through 7:30 water.
Okay, yeah, that shouldn't be a problem. It's, Sylvia has all those via email.
Okay, great, thank you.
No problem.
The 6:1 through 6:30 should have been in the 7:7 packet that you got. Okay. That's
You want me
it.
to re-email?
That's it. We can work that tomorrow. So that's it for the police report. Now we're on to the boards, commissions. Craig Foster or anybody from the Historic Commission here to speak? Going once, going twice. All right, we'll move on to parks. Sam is here.
Yes, sir. Good evening. Welcome, city council members and Sylvia and the new employee. And the public is here as well. Jared, you did mention about the survey where you received 4 survey companies that you were going to be reviewing. You received those notices from those survey companies roughly around May 11th. And here we are already in August. And really, I started doing some deed research and other factors concerning the Phase 1 survey about Christmas of last year. So I think that this process has really dragged on for a long period of time. We're going to check our battery here. We're running low on our battery here at the office.
Is it the power cord for the computer, sir? Do you have it?
Yeah.
But it's connected. Pinch those a little bit farther in.
That's blue. That's.
Is the battery icon on the bottom of the computer showing?
Carry on, Sam. Go ahead.
Okay. So yes, the mayor and myself had a chance to review the 4 landscape companies that have submitted their statement of qualification. I would like to see those 4 survey companies be looked at by city council members. I think though the mayor did determine through the price brackets of what they were. Uh-oh.
All right.
Now we're still here.
Yeah, go ahead and talk, Sam. Everybody's still on.
Okay, yeah, so I did talk to a survey company in San Marcos that had been doing some research, and I think that they reached out to the mayor as well. So maybe they will be submitting a lower bid to get this survey done in Phase 1 of the park. Our city councilwoman Sonia Villalobos mentioned about trespassing on private property. I happen to have some land in Phase 1 adjacent to 1979. I have seen vehicles parked there. It wasn't connected.
Okay.
I have seen vehicles parked there, about 20 vehicles. I am concerned about the trespassing onto my land, onto people getting to the parkland. I feel like I would like to submit 2 bids from New Braunfels Landscape Supply for landscape blocks also to be discussed in an action item at a city council meeting. So again, Sylvia, I would like to see the survey be discussed, and I would like to see the purchase of these limestone blocks. Our chief of police is in favor of purchasing these limestone blocks to place in phase 1 to prevent people from driving onto phase 1 and also onto my property. These limestone blocks are 4 to 6 feet in length and are a very reasonable price. 6 of them can be purchased for about $895, and 4 of the 6-foot ones for about the same price. Are you still being able to hear me? God.
The wonderful world of Zoom.
Okay, just Sam, and I was listening to you about the blocks.
Yeah.
So don't think I was messing with the computer.
Oh, yeah, no,
I was
it's good.
multitasking it.
Yeah, thank you.
You're gonna give me that anyway, too.
You have these bids from before, I think, unless you want to make copies. I've already given bids to the mayor.
I'll make copies because I
Yes,
have to
please.
research.
Yeah.
Okay, mute your speaker.
Jared, are we on there?
Here, let me do the video.
Move it.
Sam, we can hear you. Did your report conclude?
I think if you heard me talking about the limestone blocks and all that, then that's fine. I can continue.
Yeah.
Okay. I will submit the 2 bids for the limestone blocks to Sylvia. She will make copies of those. You have seen it as well, Jared, but as I mentioned, the chief of police is very much in favor of purchasing these limestone blocks. It will reduce the amount of time that he has to spend, as we have mentioned, driving back and forth from these various locations throughout the city. If these blocks were placed strategically, they can easily be moved to other locations with a forklift, and volunteer participants in our city have been more than happy to move these limestone blocks for us, since the city does not have the infrastructure or the skid steer machinery in order to do that. I've also submitted a bid for some signs to the mayor from Pathmark Traffic. These are a purchase of 17 signs that are easy to clean, metal signs. The price for the 17 signs was $512. One of the signs will say, "Thank you for keeping your park clean." 4 of the signs are the rules that exist at Allen Bates Park, but these signs are larger. They're 3 feet by 4 feet. Also, I have 2 signs that I'd like to buy for the city of Martindale parking, additional parking signs, and recycling and garbage signs. Again, these are 17 signs that are easy to clean and maintain for $512. I would like that to be a discussion item as well, along with the survey and the limestone blocks, for the purchase of signs.
Sam, we'll talk about the signs after we have a Parks meeting where we can let the Parks Committee go look at the signs. I know you guys have done it independently, but as we discussed earlier, there's other options than what we sent you to. Basically, the Pathmark does traffic signs, and so if we want the thing to look like a TxDOT road, well then we could go use those, but I think there's better options out there, and
Okay.
we've done some work to collect images of that now.
Well, then perhaps...
But we need to get together the committee needs to get together
Okay.
and talk about that, and we just haven't taken the time, figured out how to do that.
Well, now that the parks are closed, it's a perfect time to try and fix these things without having to worry about...
So when's the next meeting of the Parks Committee?
Whenever you would like for us to discuss it. We can set a time now, or I can come in during the week to set up a time.
Try coming by tomorrow. Let's go pick a day.
Okay. I'm glad to see that you were able to set the budget for the library for 3 years. I would also like to see what the budget for the parks is, as is described on the back of your correspondence here. Can you inform me of what the budget is for the parks?
Right now, it's at 19K. And of course,
19K.
that is the preliminary.
Okay.
The current year budget was 14, and of course, last year's was 8. So it's taken a significant increase.
I appreciate that increase. I have also spoken to the city administrator and the mayor about the necessity of having more maintenance in the parks, particularly during the weekends. I, as a volunteer, and Jeff Latimer also goes down to the park a lot and empties these trash cans. We need a maintenance person, part-time, to maintain our parks. It is vital that is going to be included in the budgets for the next year. I have mentioned about the trespassing in phase 1. One thing that I would like to also have you a discussion about and a bid be accepted is for the removal of the flood debris in Owl Hollow that has been there for 5 years. Much of this debris has been pushed up against my property line for 5 years. This is creating a fire hazard on city property and for my land as well. I recently paid someone with a skid steer to spend a couple hours of work and push that debris off of my property line. This has turned into a fire hazard and a haven for snakes. So I would like to see a bid submitted in the next couple of weeks from potential people to get this debris consolidated and pushed into burn piles at Owl Hollow. I'm also very concerned about the sale of an adjacent land parcel to the park, the Colleen Pfeiffer property. That is a historic property in the Hispanic community. It was called Union Park. Dances were held there in the 1950s. All the Hispanic community came around from many cities, from Lockhart and Seguin. Unfortunately, there was a shooting and 2 murders there in 1950. But that is a historic parcel of land. Now it's up for closing on a sale of August 12th, from what I understand. So I'm also deeply concerned that the land downstream from the additional parking lot has been sold and to a private party, which has cut off our ability to expand into phase 1. I'm also concerned about the abandoned house on Fannin Street across from the park. All the windows and the doors are broken out. It's become a safety hazard and looks very bad for those visiting our city as soon as they come to the Welcome to Martindale sign. Also, the 2 blue houses on the curve at 1979 look very bad and need to be looked at by the owner in the city of Martindale. Piles of garbage exist. Leftover sofas and abandoned cars are the first thing people see when they come into our town on 1979. I do not like that.
If I may, these items, I encourage you to report them through the report and issue feature on our website. Unless they're related to the park.
It does affect the park, though. These properties that look like we have abandoned properties adjacent to our parkland and our future parklands affect the ability to maintain and bring people to our parks. That's all I'm saying. I'm concerned about the parks and the appearance of abandoned structures and people that pile stacks of garbage and couches and abandoned vehicles across the street from our park. That concerns me as a park chairman.
Duly noted.
Thank you, and that's it. I pretty much have covered about the discussion items I'd like to see: survey, limestone blocks, the budget, the signs, which we will talk to the mayor about and arrange a meeting. I'm sorry to have sounded so monotone and so direct. I'll be looser and friendly next time. Thank you.
Thank you, Dan.
Is there any questions?
I did. I wanted to ask, are there any grants that y'all are working on currently for the parks? Is there any discussion of grants? Are y'all looking for any grants? Anything having to do with that?
I think we were looking at some Texas Park and Wildlife grants. There's been some discussion of that, but that's about all I know of. As you know, the money that we still owe to the comptroller sometimes does affect our ability as a city, though, to receive grants or funding because we're so much in debt still. So that sometimes affects how people who give grants look at the city because we're still so much in debt with the state comptroller.
So,
Let me address that one.
Okay.
As part of this grant administrator activity we've been trying to get done for 2 months, our intention is to utilize those same people to go in for a TP&W grant.
okay.
We've also structured the engineering services agreement that you're just today volunteered to go off and evaluate, was to go off and go do that. The TP&W grants are in February, I believe, or January, February is when they get awarded. And our ability, because we haven't been able to go off and select the grant administrator yet, although we've offered the people that we're going to recommend, we're hesitant to talk to us about that and what it takes to go off and go do that until we had officially selected them, etc.
Gotcha.
And so,
Okay.
although, as Sam pointed out, and others I'm sure point out, things move slow, doesn't mean they're not moving. So there's some significant grant plans that we'll go over as soon as we talk to these folks and kind of learn what is allowable and isn't allowable.
So there's a site called Keep Texas Beautiful. So if you go on there and you register your city, because I've done that just as a community member, and had a cleanup with students, and they send you like stuff that you need, well, you know, whenever we're able to get back to those times. But you can register your city, and with all the work that y'all are doing in the parks, you know, this town should be recognized for their parks. Keep Texas Beautiful, just do some research on there, go on there and look. And I believe like your concern, what you were having as far as, you know, with the comptroller, I don't think that would hinder you in any manner to be recognized in that level.
Okay, perfect. Okay, and again, thank you for the increase in budget for the parks, and we'll look and see what we can allocate it towards in the future year. Thank you.
All right, that brings, let's see. Jan, have you got any questions for Sam?
I was just curious how much they have left in the budget for this fiscal year.
$5
And
grand.
does he have to spend all of that this year, or does he lose it if parks don't spend it?
Yeah, we're zero based budgeting, but
On the profit line for the general fund, you look at item 660, so it's the park expense. And to date, of the 14,000 that was budgeted, 922 has been spent.
no, 9,221 has been spent. 9,000 of the 14,000, yeah.
Okay. I really haven't made any major expenditures this year towards the park, so I may want to review how we've spent $9,000. Maybe most of that is in mowing.
It's mowing and electricity and water.
Okay. Okay, good. So we still have $4,000.
Close to 5, yeah.
Okay, 4,778
Some change.
and some change. Thank you, Jan, for asking.
And Lisa, you got any questions?
I do not.
All right.
Sam,
Thank you.
Moving on, we are now to the planning and zoning report. Lisa, you got anything you want to tell us?
I do. First of all, I'm actually using this opportunity to say thank you, Mayor Devaney, for addressing the zoning change sign that has popped up in town. What I'd like to say is that rumors that hold no facts, that raise tempers and create workshop. I did write the agenda item, and I wrote it in such a way that there would be ability for the P&Z Commission to make a decision or not in any direction that it so deemed appropriate. One reminder is that I, individually, am one of 5. The other thing that I'm going to say, in no way, shape, or form did I have any intention of pushing any kind of personal agenda to rezone R1 property to commercial. As a matter of fact, the word commercial is not even in the agenda item. This was an opportunity for the fact that for over 3 years, I received phone calls about certain properties that happened to be on the river that were zoned, or that are zoned in such a way that they cannot be used for what that zone says. This was an opportunity for the entire council/commission to talk about it. Based on open meetings act, I can't go around and talk to other council members. I wanted the other commission members and council members to be aware of what was going on. So for the record, that is the purpose of my report being as such. The other part is that I also want it to be known that, be it social media or just talk in town, I have given my personal phone number, my cell phone number, and extended open invitation for anyone to contact me directly. I gladly will sit and visit and explain things that are often not given opportunity to explain in a formal meeting. I want to commend one particular resident who did exactly that. I want to tell you that I'm so impressed, and when I asked, how is it that you decided to reach out to me directly? And that individual said, I read a lot of stuff, and I just decided to go to the source instead of giving more fodder to those rumors. So I want it to be known that I continue to offer my time. I visited with that particular person for over an hour. And that person walked away having probably learned more than he ever knew he needed to know. So I just want to say that because I haven't had the opportunity to do so. And I appreciate your support and the support of fellow council members. And again, if there's any questions, gladly will answer them. That's all I have.
Can we get any information on planning and zoning going on in town?
Believe it or not, there's not any. There's been so much for so long, and in the last 3 weeks, I think maybe I've had 2 phone calls. And mostly it's been about the rumor.
Well, thanks for the clarification.
Okay.
Thank you, Jim.
Thank you, Lisa. Moving on, is Miss Younger here to talk about the River Commission?
Yes, I am here.
All right, Joy, you're on.
Okay, well, on behalf of the Martindale River Advisory Committee, thanks for having me. As Lisa has spoken about, there are a lot of people in the Martindale community concerned about the prospect or even the possibility of a zoning change on downtown riverfront property. We understand no application has been submitted at this point, but wanted to address this issue preemptively. In particular, of course, is the sale of 100 Arlene Lane, and it's slated to close on August 12th. According to the 2017 FEMA map, about 90% of this tract is in the regulated floodway. The floodway designation restricts any potential development on this tract. This designation and its inherent restrictions not only protect against loss of life and property, but by limiting human activity also protects floodway habitat, aquatic life, riverbank stability, and help keep the river clean. The Martindale River Advisory Committee strongly advises the city not to entertain any zoning changes to properties bounded by the San Marcos River unless it is zoning to a higher level of protection. On behalf of the community, on the committee, thanks again for your time, and I entertain any questions at this time.
All right, I'm gonna start off right away with this, just as a comment. You mentioned the fact that the new flood maps, or the proposed flood maps that FEMA's putting out, currently called the February of summer 2019. Those, we did get a notification from FEMA a couple of weeks ago that those maps become effective January 1st of 2021. They are through with they have finished their reviews and all of that kind of stuff, and they sent us a notification that at the end of this year they become real, and so FEMA and all the insurance companies are going to start basing their stuff off of those maps. So it is important that everybody understand that, and thank you for bringing it up, Joy. With that, I will go around to the room again. We're going to go to Jan first this time. Jan, you got any questions of the River Committee?
No, but I did attend their meeting, and they seemed very organized, and I tried to explain to them that we discussed zoning and that the council was not interested in any rezoning at all at this time.
We're in violent agreement here. That's good. Lisa, you got anything you want to ask Joy?
Go to Sonia and come back.
Sonia, you got anything you want to ask Joy?
I wanted to ask Joy and Lisa, maybe whoever can answer me, is like, does anybody know what was going to go on Arlene Lane? Lisa, do you know the people who are buying Arlene Lane, or any information?
I can speak if you can.
I can, but go ahead. You might say it for me. Go ahead.
Okay, well, I actually spoke to Lisa about this, as well as Brandon Dameron, and she is the realtor, for the seller's realtor. And both of them told me that the property is going to be used as a family recreation tract, and they are going to camp there on the weekend.
That's exactly right, and if I may chime in on that, over the years, as those properties, and when I'm referencing those properties, it happened to be the parcel on both sides of our city park. And over time, potential buyers or realtors or potential developers who would call and ask questions, their question would be, it's zoned R1, but there's flooding issues, so what can you do on that property? And so ability to enjoy the river as your family or just by yourself, you can do that. And so interestingly enough, to my knowledge, actually what Joy said is accurate. The people who are in the process of purchasing the Early Lane property, that was exactly what I told them. That is what their plans are. I'm not 100% sure who purchased the other side, but I do know that the last conversation that I had, I was told the exact same thing. We are looking for a place that we as a family of 5 can semi-vacation, kind of a staycation, because I don't think they live very far away, that we can come and enjoy the river. And I'm like, fantastic. That I know for sure you can do. So, just to weigh in on that.
Did any of that sound like Airbnb to you, or just family and friends, or Airbnb?
You know, I was told family and friends. I will tell you, in our code of ordinances, in R1, which is single family detached, meaning that the houses are not put together, they do have, if in fact they wanted to do any kind, just like anyone else, it doesn't matter the location. What matters is if it's in R1, if the property is in R1, and you want to have a bed and breakfast or short-term rental, as it's more commonly referred to today, you have to apply for a specific use permit. When you apply for a specific use permit, it goes through the process, which requires a public hearing. It requires letters to be sent to every property owner that is within 200 feet of the property line. And it requires approval from that current council/planning and zoning commission. So anyone who wants to move in that direction, that's the process that they have to go through. They don't have to change the zone to do that. And when it comes to tubing, I believe a few administrations ago put a good stench down on there not being any tubing in the downtown area if you'll look at our use table in the code of ordinances.
Thank you, Councilmember Allen.
Other thing, all properties, built structures that are within the floodway have to meet FEMA guidelines in terms of its construction. So a single-family residence could perceivably be built there if it complies with the FEMA regulations. Most often, you see like a house on stilts is what's up.
We may have misspoke, Jared, so for clarification purposes, the floodplain versus the floodway. FEMA says you can build no permanent structure in the floodway, which is the 500-year flood elevation. In the floodplain, you can build a permanent structure. In our code of ordinances, the regulations are, the building regulations are that it has to be built 24 inches CFE, which is above base flood elevation. So, exactly what you said, just clarifying, floodplain, you can build 24 inches above BFE, floodway, you cannot build anything.
Okay, let's see, did we go all the way around here on this? I think we did. Everybody got a chance to talk. So, let's move on now to consent items. We got some minutes. We have minutes from February of 19 and April of 19. And a public hearing from July 7th of 2020, which was last week. What a public hearing. Yes, it was. Yes, it was.
And regular council meeting.
And regular council meeting. And then,
I make a motion to accept the minutes and accounts payable as presented.
do we have a second?
I second.
All right, and we have a motion and a second, and the only one that hadn't voted yet is Lisa, so yay or nay?
Nay, because there's corrections that I see that need to be made on the minutes.
Which
I'm
one?
going to make,
Which minute?
on the February 5th of 2019, April of 2019, and July 7th of 2020, which leaves the only one, no correction that I can see is the July 15th. And that is, unbeknownst to a lot of people, my name is Lisa Cheryl Allen. It is my request that all of these minutes be corrected to list my name as such.
Okay, is that the only thing? Fix the name? Okay, Ken, I guess you're on here somewhere. Mr. Wymore?
Here, good here.
It's okay that we pass these with Lisa's, if we state that it's with Lisa's corrections to her name. Is that true?
It is a minor misnomer that would in no way affect the validity one way or the other of the document.
All right, and so Sonia, will you amend your motion to allow Lisa's corrections?
I make a motion to accept the minutes and accounts payables with the exception of the correcting of Lisa Shell Allen for the minutes to reflect her name.
And we still got a second, Jan?
I second that.
And Lisa, you got a yay there?
Yes.
So let the record show it's a vote of 3-0 to accept the minutes and the accounts payable. All right, that gets us down to real business. So, agenda item 7A, this is a resolution establishing our regular council meetings. As we've talked before, with 2 vacancies, we cannot have called meetings and or meetings to impose taxes without a 75% quorum requirement, or 67% quorum requirement, 4 members, gets us to 75. And we've been running under the guise, I have not gone back and found the old resolution, the last time we set regular meeting minutes, to actually see what it says. But to try to fix this, we wanted to go have a resolution that allows us to go have multiple meetings a month. And the resolution reads, resolution of the City Council of the City of Martindale, Texas, amending the meeting date for its regular meeting on the City Council to twice per month to be held the first and third Tuesdays of each month unless rescheduled by a vote of the City Council and declaring an effective date. And down here it says, therefore be it resolved that the regular City Council meeting of the City of Martindale shall begin at 6:30 on the first and third Tuesday of each month unless rescheduled by a vote of the City Council, and there be 3 regular City Council meetings in August of 2020, being today, the 18th and the 25th, to support the annual budget process. And this allows us to meet the calendar that Jared showed you for the budgeting process. Anybody got any questions about that?
I would just like to make the motion that we go ahead and accept the City of Martindale amending the meeting date for its regular meeting of the City Council to twice per month to be held the first and third Tuesday of each month, as stated.
Second it.
I have a question. Is there an end date on that?
No, until it's changed. Until it's changed. We can change it back at any time that that we request to do so.
Okay.
the issue I have is I don't know what's gonna happen in November. Hopefully we'll get back to things, but there's still opportunities for some squirrely things to happen in November.
Yes, but we have to have the budget done by.
The end of September. Yeah, it's at the end of September, yes. So we have a motion. Do we have a second? I guess we did have a second.
That was Lisa.
Lisa and Jan, you in favor or opposed?
I'm okay with it, yes.
Okay, let it show that the resolution passed 3-0. All right. The next thing is to approve the certificate of appropriateness for Jack's sign. So Jared, you still there? Have you got the read ahead that Jack signed at the last meeting? Of course, his application was to go have a temporary political sign until sometime after the election, and then go with a commercial sign for a pecan place. I think somebody said, what did the pecan sign going to look like? So we got that this go around. It's going to look like that. And of course, the political sign is up already. Now, some people think, well, wait a minute, he didn't wait for us to finish our deal. But in our ordinance, it actually calls for, we have 30 days from the time we accept the application to act, to either decline, tell him to modify it, or accept it. Those 30 days, because we missed our meeting in July, have expired, and so he went ahead and put it up. What I'd like to do is have somebody make a motion to accept both of these signs and agree to a certificate of appropriateness, and we will go get him back on his way.
I make a motion to approve the signs, to approve the certificate of appropriateness application for a sign on the Scenic corridor.
I second.
And Jan, you got any comments, or y'all for it? You were shaking your head no, but then I think I heard you yes.
Yes, I'm okay with it.
Okay.
Yes.
So, and it passes 3-0. Thank you.
If I may just say something really quick, I appreciate you explaining, because I know that there's been questions of, like you said, why is the sign up? That is one of those unfortunate, not necessarily for him, but unfortunate situations for a council that doesn't have the ability to meet and take care of things. You never really know what might be on the docket that is going to get passed because we can't function. So I'm glad we got this finished.
Yep, Jack will be happy. All right, with that, we go on to 7C, which is the selection of a new mayor pro tem. Some people may ask us why we need to do this, because it's going to be relatively a short period of time. But in the age of COVID and old man diseases here, you never know when I'm going to disappear. So let's. I think it's important that we go ahead and go do this. Our process that we've used in the past is that we would go around and let any council member who was interested in throwing their name in the hat state such, and then we have a vote. So with that, first off, is anybody disagree with that, using that process again? Going once, going twice, everybody's happy with that. All right, I'm gonna go around the room. Sonia, would you want to be mayor pro tem? Yes.
Yes.
All right. Jan, you want to be mayor pro tem?
I'm not interested at this time.
And Lisa, you want to be mayor pro tem?
Not at this time.
We have one candidate. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Passes. Sonia's mayor pro tem. Now this will be until a new council is, although the law says for a term of 1 year, it also says at every new council. So We will be doing this again after the November election. This is just until November. All right, another one down. All right, the financial audit plan. Last year, if you guys recall, we got to, after the budget was done, it became time to go select an auditor, and we were kind of, well, I don't think we were slow on the uptick, but it certainly could have gone quicker. And at the time, we said, well, should we use the same old people or should we not? What the decision was is let's go with the people we had used in the past, and then we would reconsider a little earlier in the process this year. So this is earlier in the process. In your read-aheads, you saw that we have, I put the history of where we've done it. So there was a company called Cook & Associates that did the fiscal year 2004 through fiscal year 2008. That did 5 years' worth. And then Darlick & Butler started in 2009 and went on through 2017, at which point in time they were sold. No, I take that back. They were merged. I don't know who did what, but they were merged with Haney & Company. And the Haney & Companies provided the fiscal year 2018 and 2019 audits. So they did, Haney & Company's done 2 years of this. The last audit services RFQ, similar to all of this stuff that we were talking about earlier with grant administrators and engineering services and surveyors and all that kind of stuff. We have to do one of those for auditors as well. And the last time we did that was in 2016, and we signed up, the city signed up for a 1-year contract with 4 follow-on years, total of 5. And the city has used up 3 of those 5 years. They did, the first year was with Darlick & Butler, and then the last 2 years was with Haney & Company. So that's for everybody's information, so they know where we're coming from. And then the actual charges for the past 2 audit years was FY18 was $20,000. FY19, which is the one they finished this year, was $17,850 was what they charged us. What happened here?
Timer went out.
They can still hear us, so.
So, the question to the council is, what's your thoughts on finishing out the 5-year contract, or do we want to go through another RFQ process?
I make a motion that we finish the 5-year contract and with a specific date, of which I'll need your help, Mayor, to begin the RFQ process for the future.
Okay, this would be, let's see, this year, well, we'll call it August of 2020 would be year 4. August of 2021 would be year 5. So we would be ready to do this again in 2022.
You're breaking up.
I said the 5 years would run out after the fiscal year 2021 contract.
After the fiscal year of 2021?
Yes.
So that is in what month? In October?
August of 2022 is when we would need to. No, wait a minute. No. I said that wrong. It'll run out after, we're going to do FY 2020 this year. That's going to make number 4. Then we'll do FY 2021, which doesn't get placed until August of 2021.
All right.
Yeah. Yes, it'd be like August of 2021.
Okay, so that's when basically their 5 years is expired. They will do the audit for 20 this year, and for 21. Is that correct? So we would be going out for an RFQ for the fiscal year starting 2021. Correct?
Fiscal
No,
year beginning October 1st.
the,
Fiscal year beginning October 21st, or October 1st, 2021.
yes,
Ending September 30th, 2022. That'll be fiscal year 22. That would be audited by a potential new company.
Okay, so help me figure it out because I'm trying to make sure I understand everything. Basically, what I would want to add into the motion is that we begin the RFQ process in January of the year that we're in the end of our 5th year. So that the next,
January is the final option year.
I'm sorry,
January of the final option.
which is what year? Help me.
2022.
That'll be January 1st, 22.
Thank you. So January
About.
of 2022. So to actually follow in my motion, that is, I make a motion that we continue the contract that we have with Scenic and Company for our auditing services to complete 5 years. And in January of 2022, that current council began the RFQ process to find a new audit firm.
I second.
all right, and, any other discussion, anybody? Sonia,
No, sir.
what do you, yay or nay?
I'm at a yes.
All right, we have a 3-0, that one passes 3-0. Very good, thank you. Now, with that in mind, we have an engagement letter from Haney and Company for this current year that we can go off and agree to. That did go out in our pre-reads. I don't know if y'all had a chance to peruse it. The price went up, actually the price is about the same. Was for $18,750 is their estimate right now, plus incidentals, which is travel and copies, I guess, or something. So, I could use a motion that says that we make a motion to go sign the engagement letter for this year.
I'll make the motion that we accept the engagement letter for the audit plan for fiscal year 2020.
I'll second.
All right. And thank you, Jan. That passes 3-0. All right. Very good. All right. Now moving on to number 7E and F. So what we've been trying to get to is we went out for an RFQ for the grant administration for hazard mitigation and other, I don't remember whether we got the other stuff in there, but we needed to. Probably didn't. But we got it for hazard mitigation, and that's the one that's creeping up on us too fast. We had 2 offers were received, 2 bids were received, and Jared and I and Dwayne did the scoring. Mary and Mike volunteered, but did not actually ever get around to doing that. But between the 3 scorers that had it, we selected Langford Community Management Services as the best qualified. So the first thing to do is get them approved. Jared, do you remember who the other people were?
I don't recall the name of the firm off the top of my head. They were not considered best qualified.
I guess we should head to that. We've used... Jan, go ahead.
I didn't hear what he said. They weren't considered
Correct.
For years. We do for years.
And that they've been, pretty, staying with, communication with the city. But I do have a question. I know that they handled like the 2015 flood. Whatever came with that? Anybody know?
What did, I don't know what you're speaking of, no.
Well, didn't they handle a lot of the FEMA problems with a lot of the flooding that happened in 2015?
I don't believe they did anything with 2015, but they might have. There's about 10 different boxes of grant stuff out there that in the storage shed that I've never haven't had the time to go dig through. I believe they were part of the 98 buyouts that occurred, so a lot of this land that we've been talking about came from that stuff. But to tell you the truth, Jen, I wasn't part of that, and I don't know what was going on there.
Okay.
They're being used by the county, Caldwell County, for their current buyout program.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, oh, yeah. If that's what you're talking about, yeah, then.
And I think this will actually potentially answer your question, Councilmember James. I'll make a motion that we award and enter into a contract with Langford Community Management Services to complete application and provide project implementation for the GMO, CDBG, MIT to include 2015, 2016, and Hurricane Harvey state mitigation competition.
Oh, second.
Okay, we put 2 agenda items on there, so let's go back and do it in 2 pieces, if you don't mind, just to make sure that we can follow this in the future. So the first item is to agree to select them as our grant administrator based off of the RFQ that we sent out. So can we have a motion just to do that? Item E.
Yeah, separate, yes, I'll make a motion that we award and enter into a contract with Langford Community Services.
As the city.
Complete application.
Okay. So Lisa makes the motion, and Sonia, who seconds it?
No.
I thought I did.
I thought it was Sonia that seconded it.
Sonia seconded it. And Jan, yay or nay?
Yay.
Uh-oh. Was that a yes or a no?
Yes.
Ah, okay.
Yes.
Yay. I'm saying yes.
Yeah. Okay, now, item F is to go enter into the contract. Now, we sent that out in email format that has got 90-something pages worth of stuff in it. The only thing that I want to make sure everybody, a couple of things in here was section 3, I think. Yeah, 3.01 has the contract terms of the percentages. The first thing to note is the application will be completed at $0. They're not going to charge us to write up the grant, which is good. And then the charges will come out of the grant if we win, and the percentages are shown there, and it's kind of a big spread. But this hazard, the CDGB mitigation grants, A, they're competitive, B, there are $3 million minimums, and with a 1% city match. So that means we got to come up with $30,000 at least when we go do this. Now, I don't think that's a problem because it's a multi-year thing, and based off of what we've been seeing with that, but that's to keep that in mind. But first we have to win, or it's nothing. So I just want to make sure everybody understands that as we go into this. The rest of this long document is a bunch of forms that they have to fill out to make sure that they get all the wickets passed through for FEMA and the state's, the GLO activity, etc. Almost all of it has to do with what they can and cannot do. Doesn't put any restrictions on the city to speak of. There's one couple of comments in there that the closest thing they put requirements on us is that we have to react in a timely manner. It's that general. I just bring that up because that's really what we will have to do, and of course that's what we want to go do, but we can't dilly-dally on giving them feedback and or making payments and all that kind of stuff. But that's typical. So now, unless somebody else has got any other questions, now is the time to have this, the item F, a motion to go past item F.
Yes, and I'll do that, and I apologize, I did skip and get out of order, so thank you for that correction. So make a motion that we, since we've already entered into an agreement with them to enter into the contract for the Langford Community Services to complete application and provide project implementation for GLO, CDCGC, MIC to include 2015-2016, and Hurricane Harvey state mitigation competition.
I
And,
Yes.
and Sonia says yes, so that one passes 3-0. Thank you.
Thank you. So I make sure just one more piece of information for residents. It is typical for grant administrators and grant services such as Langford or any of the others. It is typical for them to, their fee to come out of what is awarded to the city, and that is if the city receives the grant. So I just wanted to let it be known that that's typical protocol.
Okay. All right, that brings us to 7G, and this is Jared. We have lost video here, so we're running just off the phone.
I'm not going to go through the documents too much. The first one, I just want to recap, let us know where we were at with the strategic plan. The issue before council is approving the community strategic plan, which will then inform the future year spend plan and the strategic performance management framework. So this community strategic plan that we've seen before, it's been a read-ahead for a while, and unless there's any discussions or comments or recommended edits, at this time I believe it's ready for council approval.
I would like to make a motion to accept and approve the 5-year strategic plan. The plan documents.
I'll second it.
It looks good, Jared.
And I would just like to add, thank you, Jared, for the time that you took on the document. It was hard trying to get people trying to participate and, come to the opportunities that they had to speak, but I'm grateful for the ones that did turn in the surveys and that did show up, and thank you for all of your work that you did on it. It looks wonderful.
Okay. So the only other one here, let's see, Jan, I think I heard you say yes to this one as well?
Yes.
Okay, so that one passes 3-0. So all right.
The other items that were included as a read-ahead, I just want to provide an opportunity to ask questions if you had any in the discussion format today. They were the future year spend plan, which we can go over in more detail in a future council meeting. But I wanted to quickly see if there's any feedback or questions on that document. While we're in open forum.
Jared, will this document be available for the citizens on our website?
Now we lost them on the bit. Oh my
I
God.
wonder why. Is it just the reception
It's-
there?
Yes, that's it. I
I
can't,
think it's what it is.
at the house also I can't get reception and it's bad. But we're getting to it. You probably know, do you want me to give you the numbers or do you know them?
I don't know.
Here, let me-
First I got a damn
Okay,
connection dropped out is what happened.
you tell me when you're ready.
It says I'm connected, but it doesn't act like it. All right, let's try this.
Here it is, okay. Tell me when you're ready for the numbers. Did you dial in? You want me to do it on my phone?
Try yours.
Okay, I don't know.
Welcome to Zoom.
The passcode is 834707.
Yeah, but I don't want that yet. I gotta have the meeting ID.
The meeting ID is 944.
Enter your participant ID followed by pound. Otherwise, please enter the meeting password followed by pound.
It is 834707.
You are in the meeting now. There are 15 participants in the meeting. This meeting is being recorded.
Previous surveys, so we can have a comparison. We will still use the same hosting service that we for the previous survey, but there should be others that will be available to us that we can use.
Good.
We're,
I'd like to see that.
we're back. We lost y'all for 5 minutes.
I couldn't understand you. What'd you say?
I said we lost y'all for 5 minutes. We're back.
Well,
Okay. There haven't been any motions, so the discussion was focused on the future years plan. And the question from Councilmember Villalobos was whether we can post this information on the website. I was sharing my opinion that it would be I thought it would be premature for me to post it online without council waiting. So if the council would like me to post the future years plan on the website, we will. I didn't want to do that without their opportunity to provide comment and feedback.
Well, I don't think we should do it till we talk about it, and we haven't had the opportunity to talk about it until the 18th, so I think we better go do that first.
and Jared, can you also reiterate for the record what I said and have to say it again?
Yeah, and the second question that Councilmember Cheryl Allen brought up was, should we continue to host a survey similar to what we previously had in the development of the strategic plan to allow citizens to continue to provide feedback who might not have taken the opportunity to do so previously, and so future councils can continue to be informed on those inputs. So we definitely could. We wouldn't be able to use the same survey hosting service that we did previously, which was offered to Qualtrics. We could look at offering it ourselves or use other free capabilities. We'll look at including that when we post the strategic plan to the website.
May I make a suggestion? I would just like to say, like, why can't we just have surveys just like, you know, ongoing?
Right, that's what we do. It would be posted with the survey would be ongoing. It'd be a constant available on the website, and we just need to make sure that we're bringing those responses and then
Okay.
an annual or semi-annual look at, you know, if anything's coming that's substantive that would warrant city council to consider or review if it might change the strategic priorities year over year.
Okay. Anything else on that?
The last item of the strategic plan that was included in the read-aheads was a early draft of the strategic performance management framework. And that document lays out the measures, metrics that the city would track to maintain awareness of progress toward achieving those strategic priorities. So I included an early draft so you're familiar with how it's laid out, what kind of information goes in it. I haven't provided any updates to City Council on it. We haven't had a chance to review it.
You didn't send that today, right?
It was included.
It was the meeting form?
Yeah, it was included in the July read-ahead, and there's also in the read-aheads this summer round.
Okay.
So I'm bringing it up to get an opportunity to ask questions and understanding what's in the document. That might clarify and have further discussion about that within its particulars in a future workshop.
Anybody want to talk about those tonight? Well, why don't we add that into the 18th or September meeting? I don't know which.
Yeah, so my recommendation would be to review the future year spend plan at the 18th meeting as we get into the budget. Have to approve it, but to provide edit recommendations to it. And then the performance management framework, that's something that we can look at on the third Tuesday in September. That's the one that you're holding up.
There we go. That's what it looks like, guys.
All right, that'll work.
So, yeah, that's it.
Okay,
Would you like on the third?
Yeah, just, I don't want to go get too deep in the performance management stuff as we're going through the budget because it's not germane to that discussion as much. After the budget's approved, we'll what measures decide to go forward. So we can look at it probably my recommendation being the 3rd September Tuesday or 3rd Tuesday September or sometime.
Got it. Thank you.
okay. That gets us through item 7. Now going on to item 8. This is discussion only. This is to try to answer Jan's question. Back in the 6:30 special meeting, that she raised a question, or actually 2 questions, about library documents and stuff. And so as we clarified what the questions were, I think we answered these. The first question was, there seems to be a $7,000 discrepancy that I mentioned in the June 2nd meeting. To clarify that, it wasn't really a discrepancy. It was a difference between 2 line items that were on the annual report. And, thank you, Jan, for reading the report. That is not an easy document to dig through. But what the answer is that they weren't meant to be the same. They're meant to reflect 2 different things, and they do reflect those 2 different things. And section 4.33 is actually a subset of section 3.8B on that report. And so there's really no discrepancy that's there. It's just they're meant to report 2 different levels of activity, and they do report that, and they're the right numbers. And I mean, I don't know what else to tell about that. Jan, are you a believer of that now, or?
Yes.
Okay.
Just the library wasn't able to answer the question. It was a $7,000 discrepancy, and we went ahead and voted on it instead of allowing the library to answer any questions. Well, I'm satisfied with it, and I think that because it is such a difficult report, Jared sent me an email that explained it really discrepancy, and I just wanted to clarify that, instead of leaving it hanging out there.
Okay,
So, very much bringing that up.
okay. And then the question number 2 was a question about a $15,000 for 2019 versus $10,000 that was on some report, and there was $5,000 missing. We were trying to understand it when it all finally came down to it, and we were able to open all the pertinent files. The real thing is well, I don't know exactly what.
The numbers aren't ever going to work out because, from what Jared explained, that you have to go over into the next year because of our annual, our fiscal years are different.
Absolutely.
So it's
Absolutely.
really difficult. You have to go into the year before to be able to come up with the $15,000.
Right.
I would like to see the library give the state that so that we can look at it in numbers. Because if I was only just studying 2019, and if you looked at all the reports just for 2019, it still did not add up to the $15,000 that they were supposed to spend. For them to be accredited, they had to be able to spend that much money. And it's hard for me to wrap around my head.
But I do think, Jan, that what we came up with is that if you look at all the years per that contract, they showed the exact amount of receipts that we gave them. Okay, the money that we gave them, that matched up perfectly. And then the other column on that long PDF report that really is an Excel report adds up every dime penny that they've spent by line item. And so there is a path to say the city has provided this much money, and these are the things that they've spent them on, and eventually they will end up using all of that. It's just a timing issue from year to year. Do you agree with that now?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
It's kind of hard to understand, but I understand how things are. I understand it a little bit better. I appreciated the reports that I got from Dwayne and from the library as far as the annual report. I really appreciate the stuff that I got from them.
And if I may weigh in just a moment, thank you, Jan, for going to the effort that you did. And you're right, it is difficult. I just wanted to make a note that because the library's fiscal cycle is different than the city's fiscal cycle or timeline, that was one of the biggest reasons for my support of moving forward the way that we did. Was if we don't, it's just this dog chasing your tail backwards kind of thing. And so that's one thing that I wanted to say. And then the other is, Jared, the email, I would love a copy of the sequential explanation that you gave Councilman Bunker, because the rest of us get those questions. And it would be great if we are clearly all on the same page of responses that we give. So, at least for myself, if you will forward that email, that would be really helpful to me.
Okay.
All right.
Mayor Dominic,
Moving on. What?
just real quick.
I just wanted to say one more. The reason why I wanted to make this a discussion item is because the library is an issue that I feel like that divides this town, and I feel like that we need to be as transparent as possible, and so that everybody can understand where we are. And I feel like because we left that question up in the air and still voted for it, when the library wasn't able to answer the question, I just kind of felt like that we weren't all that fair to all of the citizens of this town. And I think it needs to be clarified. It's really transparent.
I appreciate and respect that, Jan.
Sonia has a question.
Yes, I wanted to say that because it's a donation, the city technically does not micromanage all of their financials.
Sonia, we're not hearing you very well.
Just try again.
I said that because the city does this and does this for the library does not mean that we micromanage the library's funding.
I'm not, no.
We don't. Like if we were to give a donation, have we given a donation to the ESD before?
Once upon a time, yeah, to the fire
Yes.
department.
So then whenever we've done that, I think the library has gone above and beyond trying to be transparent. I could say that whenever I voted for the library, and I understand about budgeting and the time that it takes, but the questions that I had, I made sure to reach out to understand. So I feel like I did my due diligence as a council member to make sure that I was voting on the appropriate choice based on my constituents as a community and as a council member. But I just think that if we as council members are going to be wanting to micromanage the library, then we have to understand our role as a city council and where our places are as far as financials with the library.
Agree. I completely agree.
I think that's fair, because I think that, they need to be accountable for the money that they're spending for the city. And I think that if council members make sure, I mean, I think it doesn't matter what they're spending it on, but, you know, it's nice to know, every year what they are spending it on.
You've seen the list of reports. I mean, they get it down to the $1 here for paper or paper clips or whatever. I mean, it's all on that list. The list is so long that it's hard to read because the font's so small. But I think they've done everything they can to try to go off and show us exactly what they're spending our city money on. And they certainly have come into these meetings and told us for years. I mean, every public comment time that is available until COVID hit, Jane, Carol, Linda Elliott, Patty Peterson, somebody was always coming in here telling us what new stuff they were buying and what it was for the citizens. So anyway, I think we spent enough time on this one. We ought to go move on and try to wrap this up tonight.
We can move on, Mayor, but if I may have one more moment. I think at this point we are all speaking the same language and a little bit different. There's a difference between micromanaging and accountability. And you're right, Jan, accountability is what I feel like is appropriate for not just the library, but any other entity that we may be in partnership with. And to follow up on a statement that Councilmember Villalobos made in reference to the ESD, for anyone who was either not around or unaware, before the ESD was ESD meaning Emergency Services District, for the fire department to be able to service and receive funding from our tax dollars. Prior to that being put on a ballot and being approved with a vote, because it has to go to a vote. Prior to that, I do not know how many years, but a lot of years, as in 10 plus years, the city used to pay a check in our accounts payable. It was a check, I believe in my mind, was $750 a month. So we used to fund the what is now known as the ESD. We used to fund the fire department at $600 or $750 a month before we voted to establish an actual district. So a lot of people don't remember that.
Okay.
That's all. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Now, that brings us to agenda item number 9, which are future items. If you look on your agendas, there's a bunch of stuff there, but there are two. Number 6, which is the 5-year spend plan, and number 8, which is the actual budget, is what we've got targeted for August 18th. And I heard earlier another one that I don't have a date on about doing something with ongoing surveys through the web page. So we'll add that one to the list. Has anybody else got something they'd like to add to the future items?
I wanted to add, trying to find out who owns the school parking area.
I think we already know that. Ask Chief. I don't want to say the person's name in case I'm a little bit wrong.
All right, I got that one. Anything else? Going once, going twice. What?
Yeah, let me weigh in. The number 1 item, the road restriping plan, I think we can put that on the back burner instead of it being number 1 unless somebody objects.
The list is not to be in priority order. The list is just to keep track of them all. That one's been on the back burner because it's moved up to the top of the list. But nobody's prepared. What we're looking for is anything else to put on there. So,
Mayor Devini, can I ask you something?
well, let Lisa finish. So, have you got anything else you want to add to the list?
Yeah. And so on number 4, review zoning ordinance, what I would really like for that to state is to say a rolling review of ordinances and give it a more broad spectrum.
The format of this is that's not going to work for me, Lisa. The intent of what you're trying to ask for, we're doing. I think we're doing. As you can see, we've got Chapter 93 of the Park Ordinance review. We've got the zoning ordinance to review. We've got the review of Chapter 151. We've done more ordinances in the past year than I think we did in the prior 3 years of going over them, and we continue to do that. The sequence of events seems to be the ones that, that has a burning issue right then. I don't want to put something on here that is open-ended. I want to put something on here we can kill when we do it. So I think we're doing what you're asking us to do. It just isn't in the words that you want to use. So now, is there anything else that we can put on here we have to kill? Wait a second. Going once. Lisa. Yes or no?
Yes. The last thing, and let me just make double, triple sure, is that, and I've mentioned it before in regards to specific use permits, for short-term rental establishments that are in town. I would like to have an item on the agenda that gives us opportunity to really create a plan. And as I had just off the cuff coined the phrase, a specific use short-term rental roundup. I personally have 3 residents who are ready to move forward with that. So I would like that on the future item.
All right.
I think we need to come up with where we're going to be spending that money first. Come up with a plan.
Yeah. We're going to talk about that on the 18th, I think.
May I have a question on future items? May I be recognized?
Yeah. Just
Okay,
come
where
in.
it says road repair procedure,
What?
does that include complete road repair or replacement? Because I know we have a fund, different funds. One, when I see road repair, I think, oh, filling potholes.
Okay. If you look at item number 5, which is road repair and procedures, is potholes. That was put on there by Mike, and that's still on the list. Number 7 was also put on there by Mike, which is let's talk about the long-term capital plan review coming up. We were going to do that in July at the workshop, but of course that got killed. So Those have not gone away, and number 5 is for potholes. Let's talk about the process and why we're doing what we're doing, and then if we want to change that. And then number 7 is to go through and decide what we're going to do with the long-term capital
Okay.
money, and that's, my thoughts is that's roads, but we'll see when we get there. All right, now Sonia, you had a question.
Yes, okay, so in order to form a planning and zoning committee with citizens on the board, just like we created a river committee, I would like to do that with our planning and zoning and allowing citizens to be on the board.
I like that idea. And it would be for the, come on,
Put it on as an item for discussion.
Yes, I would like it on the agenda.
On the future item?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, we'll stick that one on there. That's something good to come think about in the future. All right.
Rob?
Yes, sir.
Real quick, at the top, you mentioned adding the survey as a discussion item for agenda item. I don't think it needs to be an agenda item. It's just something that's given today, and I'll go to the item that we're going to add to the agenda is the performance management framework. That was going to be scheduled for time in September or October. The budget.
Yes, I've got that. That's number 13. All right, good deal. Yeah, you're right. I wrote it down, I just didn't read it out. Okay, that brings us to the end of the meeting, and I will entertain an adjournment motion.
I motion we adjourn the meeting at 9:15.
Yay.
All right, we have a motion, a second, and all in favor was all 3 of you. So let's declare us adjourned. Anybody still on Zoom? I appreciate y'all's time.
Bye.
Bye. I hate Zoom.
You're gonna be an expert at it.